When the mind begins to wander and the heart feels the weight of loneliness, it is easy to believe that the divine presence has drifted far away. You might think that heaven has closed its doors, that your prayers rise only to return unheard, and that you are left to walk this path alone. Yet the truth is far more intimate, far more gentle, and far more reassuring. God is closer than you think. The closeness is not measured in distance, for the eternal cannot be confined by space. The closeness is measured in awareness, in your ability to pause and notice the breath, the silence, the quiet strength that surrounds you in every moment. The nearness of God is not always revealed in great displays of power. Often it is hidden in the subtle, the quiet, the unnoticed corners of your daily life. You may imagine that the divine presence must come like fire from the sky or thunder rolling across the mountains, but more often it comes like the soft rustle of leaves, like the steady rhythm of your breath, like the warmth of sunlight resting gently on your skin. These are not ordinary moments. We are reminders that the sacred dwells within the ordinary, that God weaves eternity into the fabric of each passing second. When you open your heart to this truth, you begin to realize that the nearness of God has been with you all along, waiting for you to notice. Think about how often you have been saved from choices that could have destroyed you. The path you thought you wanted, the relationship you thought you needed, the opportunity you believed was perfect, all of them closed before you could enter. At the time, it may have felt like loss, like rejection, like abandonment. Yet now looking back, you see how those closed doors protected you, how they preserved you, how they led you to something greater. That was not distance, that was closeness. That was God working beside you in ways you could not see, guiding you even as you resisted, standing near even as you misunderstood. When you feel overwhelmed and uncertain, your instinct may be to move faster, to strive harder, to push your way through. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop, breathe. We had recognized that you are not alone in your struggle. The divine presence is already standing within the chaos. The calm you are searching for is not waiting on the other side of the storm. It is available in the middle of it because God is not distant. God is near, even here, even now. There are moments when your thoughts run wild, when fear and anxiety take hold, and you feel trapped in your own mind. In those moments, it is easy to believe that you are abandoned. But even then, in the very place of your inner turmoil, God is closer than you think. The stillness you long for is not something you must create by force. It is something you uncover when you allow yourself to rest in the presence that is already holding you. Like a river beneath frozen ice, it has never stopped flowing. Sometimes the nearness of God is felt most strongly in weakness. When you have come to the end of yourself, when you have no strength left to keep going, it is there that you discover a power not your own rising within you. You may call it resilience, courage, or endurance, but if you look deeper, you will realize it is the quiet strength of divine nearness. It is not a strength you conjured by your own effort. It is a strength given to you in the very moment you need it, a reminder that you are not walking through life unaccompanied. Think of the times when you were certain you could not carry on, yet somehow you did. Think of the nights when despair covered you, yet morning still came. Think of the seasons when all seemed lost, yet from the ashes something new was born. These are not coincidences. They are signs of presence. They are proof that God was closer to you than your pain, closer to you than your fear, closer to you than your own doubts. The presence of God does not only walk with you in silence, it also surrounds you in the people sent into your life. The friend who shows up when you need comfort, the stranger whose words strike your heart at the right moment, the loved one who carries you when you have no strength to stand. These are not random. They are reminders of divine nearness. They are ways God makes closeness visible, wrapping unseen presence into human touch, into kind words, into shared laughter. Yet, even when no one stands beside you, the presence is there. In solitude, in loneliness, in isolation, you may feel abandoned, but the truth remains unchanged. Closeness does not depend on who is physically near. Closeness depends on who is always with you, who never leaves, who cannot be separated from you. Even if the world walks away, God does not. Even if you wander far from the path, the presence follows. Even if you fall, that presence bends low to lift you again. There are seasons of life when you long for a sign, a miracle, a voice from the heavens. But closeness is not always about dramatic revelations. It is often about quiet assurance. It is about trusting that even when you cannot feel it, you are held. It is about remembering that feelings are fleeting, but truth is eternal. The nearness of God does not vanish when your emotions shift. It does not weaken when your faith wavers. It remains steady, constant, unwavering. Like the air around you, God's nearness is invisible, yet essential. You may not always pay attention to the air you breathe, but without it, you could not live. In the same way, you may not always notice the presence of God, but it sustains you nonetheless. Every step you take, every breath you draw, every beat of your heart, each is evidence of that nearness. Whether you acknowledge it or not, it remains closer than anything else in your life. Consider the night sky. When darkness falls and clouds cover the heavens, you cannot see the stars. But the stars have not vanished. They remain burning with brilliance, waiting for the clouds to clear. In the same way, when the heaviness of life blinds you, you may not sense God's nearness, but closeness is not determined by your sight. It remains constant, waiting for the moment when you lift your eyes once more. When you find yourself in silence, let it not be a silence of fear, but a silence of awareness. For silence often becomes the doorway to realizing how close God has always been. In the stillness, you begin to hear what the noise has drowned out. In the pause, you begin to feel what the chaos has numbed. In the quiet, you begin to see that you were never walking alone, not even for a moment. The nearness of God is not something you need to earn. It is not a reward for perfection or an achievement for the righteous. It is a gift, constant and unchanging. Even in your mistakes, even in your failures, even in your darkest hours, God remains close. The presence does not retreat when you stumble. It leans nearer, offering you a way back, reminding you that grace is not distant, but immediate, that forgiveness is not delayed but present, that love is not far but closer than your very breath. When you carry regret for the past or anxiety for the future, you miss the truth of this moment. And this moment is where God is, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now, right here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this stillness. The past is gone, the future has not yet come, but the divine presence is eternal, and eternity touches you in this present instant. That is why God is always closer than you think, not in some distant place or distant time, but in the now, in the very life unfolding before you. If you open your eyes to see the nearness, your life begins to change. You no longer need to search endlessly outside yourself for what has always been within reach. You no longer need to chase after signs because you recognize them everywhere. You no longer need to fear being alone because you understand you have never been alone. This realization does not remove every hardship, but it transforms how you walk through it. With the awareness of nearness, you walk lighter, steadier, more at peace. And still, even with all these reminders, the human heart forgets. You may walk with confidence one day and stumble with doubt the next. You may sense nearness in the morning and feel abandoned by evening. Yet, the presence of God is not as fragile as your shifting emotions. It does not come and go like the tide. It does not depend on your ability to hold on to it. It depends only on the nature of God, to remain, to sustain, to dwell near. Even when you forget, God remembers you. Even when you doubt, God is steady. Even when you wander, God is closer than your steps. This is the quiet miracle of divine nearness. It does not change, but your awareness of it does. And so, the task is not to bring God closer, but to awaken to the truth that God has never left. To learn to see in new ways, to feel with deeper trust, to walk with greater awareness. The more you awaken to this reality, the more you realize that every moment, every place, every breath carries the same truth. God is closer than you think. And so, when life feels heavy and the silence grows long, remember this truth. You are not walking alone, not for a single step. The presence that formed you, the presence that has carried you through storms you thought would destroy you, the presence that whispered hope when you had none left, that presence is still here, closer than your own breath, nearer than your own thoughts. It has never been far, it has never abandoned you, and it never will. What you have been seeking in the distance has always been resting quietly within reach. Let your heart rest in that nearness. Let your soul breathe in that peace. For God is not somewhere else waiting for you to arrive. God is here, now, in this very moment, closer than you think,